All right, now I wanted to make this tier list ever since UFC 309 because at UFC 309 we witnessed quite a bit of in-cage cheating, and in-cage cheating almost makes me more angry than steroid cheats, okay? Because steroid cheats, they get punished for the most part, right? They'll get a suspension, they'll get fined, things will happen that deter them from doing it in the future. Whereas guys that commit fouls, intentionally or otherwise, inside the octagon, there is almost no deterrent whatsoever to stop them from doing it again. Rarely ever do we see a point get taken. Even more rare do we see a disqualification happen. And you know what? Something that I don't even think I might not mind advocating for this at all. I feel like certain guys that commit a crazy amount of fouls consistently in their career should be suspended. Okay, I think that would stop. Listen, dude, we want to stop eye pokes. Fuck making a new glove. Take a point away. And if it's somebody that is a serial offender and they are beyond rehabilitation, suspend them for a year and see if when they come back, do they continue to eye poke people. Okay, but either way, I want to rank who I believe are the worst in-cage cheaters. Now, like I said, but I just want to make it abundantly clear, we're not talking about steroid cheats here. Okay, so if you are somebody who skips the intro of a video, you might be a little bit confused by some of the placement on this list, but you know, that's your fault, I guess. So we're gonna get into it now. The first couple of tiers are gonna be guys that maybe only offended a couple times, or maybe it was once, but to me their fouls were so unbelievably egregious that I couldn't leave them off this list. So let's get started right away. In D tier, first fighter to get ranked into D tier for one foul in particular, and that is Li Jingliang, the Leech. Now I actually like Li Jingliang quite a bit, and I always felt really bad for him when he got absolutely fucking hosed out of that press conference where he had like just this unbelievable Superfly suit. Okay, the dude never gets any shine, doesn't get a whole lot of attention, and the one time he's supposed to, he goes all out, gets a really nice suit, and gets fucked out of the press conference. Okay, but that's not what this tier list is about. Li Jingliang tried to dig Jake Matthews' eyeballs out of his face. Okay, he used like all four fingers to shove in Jake Matthews' eyeball, and it was absolutely atrocious. And I feel like when you do something like that, not just a finger or your thumb glances or pokes or whatever, when you shove four fingers into a dude's eye socket, I feel like there is no possible way that is accidental. Okay, so that's why he's made it on this list. Now I can't think of any other egregious fouls carried out by Li Jingliang. If you can, let me know down in the comments below, but I think that one was enough to get him in D tier. Okay, moving on to the next fighter to get ranked into D tier. This guy is more than a one-time offender. Okay, although it does seem like he's been slightly rehabilitated, although maybe it's just because he's losing fights and we don't get a chance to see him commit fouls. That is Cameron Simon. Okay, this dude, it's like his foot has a fucking magnet for nuts in it. In his first couple of UFC fights, I think he committed like 3 or 4 low blows. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but he got a point deducted in one of them, and to be fair, his opponent did miss weight, which is a form of cheating a little bit, but you still low blowed him twice, and probably wasn't necessarily intentional. Although when you have an issue with it in fights prior and then you continue to have an issue with it, it makes me wonder, it's not that hard to kick a leg. Do you understand? It's not that hard to kick a stomach, right? Like the balls are, I don't know why you would ever be practicing on a heavy bag kicking at that height. I just don't understand how it happens. Now I get sometimes if a fighter's throwing a kick at the same time as you, shit can get awkward, but Cameron Simon seems to be a little, trigger happy when it comes to kicking the old nutsack. So that's why he's on this list. Anyways, let's move on to the next fighter. Now, this one was so unbelievably egregious that I almost put him higher up on the list just because of the nature of the foul. But he only did it the one time. I can't think of other fouls he committed, and there are people on this list that 100% deserve to be above him, and that is going to be Greg Hardy. Now, some of you might be wondering, like, I don't recall Greg Hardy ever getting a point deducted or eye poking somebody or kicking someone in the nuts or kneeing anything like that, right? But this motherfucker brought an inhaler into the cage right? And oftentimes, now I don't know what the specific medicine was in this scenario, but oftentimes inhalers have some sort of steroid in them. You know, I'm not an asthmatic, but that's what I've heard. And Greg Hardy's over here with an inhaler telling the people it's USADA approved. Hey, that's not the same thing, dude. You know, I don't know that you can just snort lines of creatine in between rounds because it's USADA approved. Okay? You are artificially enhancing your ability to recover in between rounds, and your opponent doesn't have the same thing. We should just all have inhalers then, if that's the case, you know? And then he tried to play stupid, like he genuinely thought this would be okay. Motherfucker, the UFC's been a thing for like 30 years. I've never seen this ever once in my life until your dumbass showed up, you know? Dude, I hate Greg Hardy. This shit made me angry when I saw it. But it was also funny because how stupid do you have to be? Honestly, how stupid do you have to be? Okay, to think you can bring an inhaler in the octagon and, you know, enhance your ability to recover when that's never happened in the history of ever. So that's why Greg Hardy is on this list in D tier. Moving on, dude. Let's get on to the next fighter to go into D tier. This woman could also be placed higher, okay? Because she won a title basically with her fouls, and that is Germaine de Randamie. No point deducted either. This is what I'm talking about, man. People forget when fighters are dirty because there's no repercussions. It drives me up the fucking wall. She hit Holly Holm so clearly after the bell multiple times and did not get a point deducted. What the fuck are we talking about? You know, why are point deductions even written into the rules if they are never going to be used? I don't understand it. You just get away with fouls in the UFC. And had she had a point deducted, she probably would have lost. You know, if I'm not mistaken, it was a split decision. I could be wrong, 48-47. And it just drives me nuts, man. So not only is there no deterrent for fouling, there's actually like an incentive to foul because you know that I can get away with at least a couple before a ref does fucking anything. Now, I can't think of other times that Germaine de Randamie cheated, but for me, that one was so glaring and obvious. And the first time it happened in the fight, I think you might be able to actually make the argument that, well, heat of the moment, maybe she didn't hear it was loud in the arena, all the rest of it, right? Like you're not necessarily paying attention. And if the referee doesn't get in between you, you know, it's not like there's plausible deniability there. When it happens a second time in the same fight, even later than the first one though, it forces me to call into question the first instance. You know, if it had just happened the one time immediately after the bell, and it didn't happen again, I'd be like, well, it was just an accident. But when you do it a second time, I'm like, well, hold on now. You know, now I don't know that first one was an accident. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, she was, objectively speaking, in my opinion, a dirty fighter to a certain degree, at the very least. Now, let's move on to C tier. Okay, now this motherfucker, he is on this, this guy's brand new. And I don't know that he can be rehabilitated. We're going to see moving forward if he can be, because he is a newer addition to the UFC. But Cesar Almeida, dude, what? I rewatched the fight because I knew I wanted to put him on this list. And I thought, okay, how many fouls were there actually against Ihor Potieria? I think that's how you say his name. Whatever, dude. He eye poked Ihor 3 fucking times, and something that was really astonishing, and by the way, 0 points deducted whatsoever, and he ended up winning a decision, which is absolutely infuriating. One of the crazy things about this fight and the fouls that were committed were he landed a low blow on Ihor, but it was a punch. He punched him in the dick. I don't get it. Like, this is what I'm talking about, man. With Cameron Simon, like, your balls are nowhere where I'm trying to kick. For the most part, especially since calf kicks have been a thing, by the way. We don't really see a whole lot of people go above the thigh, or rather above the knee, like we used to. Whereas when you're throwing an inside leg kick above the knee, it can kind of catch and, you know, go up that way. But a lot of the times now we're seeing guys go low. So if I'm trying to kick you below the knee, or in your, like, rib cage or your liver, right? I'm nowhere near your nuts. But if I'm trying to punch you, there's only body shots and headshots. How the fuck is my fist? It's like Cesar Almeida's punch is a recurve, whereas everybody else has a compound bow. And we just start to see drop a lot earlier on Cesar Almeida's punches. And that's why I guess he started the punch at like belly button height and it just dropped to like, I don't understand it. But again, no points deducted whatsoever. And when you are that bad of like throughout the entirety of the fight, by the way, before any eye poke, his fingers were forward the entire fucking time. And he got warned about it. And I don't understand how if you are warning a guy to not do that with his fingers and then he ends up eye poking, take a point immediately. Immediately. If you eye poke somebody 3 times in the course of a fight, you should just be disqualified. Honestly. Because at that point, you have affected the outcome of that fight so much, we will never know if the outcome is genuinely what would have happened had you not done that. You know? So, I hope that Cesar Almeida can be rehabilitated, but that is yet to be seen. We will find out, I guess, in his next fight. Let's move on to the next fighter to get ranked into C tier for cheaters. Honestly, he could go a little bit higher, but the problem is that once we get to B, A, and S tier, these guys are on a whole nother level of dirty. So I had to make some tough decisions here, okay? Leon Edwards. I know there's going to be a bunch of people that are like, what? How is he not at the very top? Because he does commit quite a few fouls. Although in one of the fights, the narrative that got painted about him being the foul committer was utterly insane to me, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. It's a bit of a spoiler. But Leon Edwards has this issue, kind of like Cesar Almeida, where he likes to poke people in the fucking eyes. Now, the one that comes to mind, obviously, is the Bilal Muhammad one. That was a bad eye poke. He, like, raked his eyelid off, almost, okay? Making Bilal even uglier than he already was, but I don't know that it was intentional. Leon Edwards, listen, if you know, it looked like he was posting after he threw a kick, and he just so happened to accidentally poke him in the eye. And also, we know that Leon Edwards does set up a head kick with usually a punch off the same side that the head kick is coming from. But when you do that, or at least I do, and I know there's a few other fighters that I can think of that do it like this. When you throw the same side head kick, you don't necessarily want to throw a punch. You're throwing out the right hand or the left hand, whatever it may be. But you're not throwing it. You're not throwing a punch necessarily. Sometimes I actually do open the hand. Although, if I'm wearing kickboxing gloves, it's a little bit different. But I will I'll throw it like a cross, and then your palm will go towards their face. And the reason for that is because I want them to slip towards my leg. So I don't want to throw it like a punch. I want to just like kind of toss it out there and maybe even get my hand there so that if they can't, they're limited on how far they can get away from my kick. So I feel like Leon probably does that when he's hitting the heavy bag with, boxing gloves on and shit like that. And it's just a bad habit that he needs to break, I guess. But we also see Leon Edwards engage in glove grabbing, and things like that. Although, like I said, in the fight that I can think of where he did that, that was happening to him tenfold. And for whatever reason, the referee just didn't fucking acknowledge it when it was Kamaru Usman, but when it was Leon Edwards, all of a sudden we need to separate and take a point and all the rest of it. So, Leon Edwards does commit quite a few fouls. I do think that a lot of them are unintentional, but it still is a bad habit. And again, dude, like a lot of these guys that are going to end up on this list, like Jermaine Durandamy, if you commit the same foul multiple times, I'm going to call them all into question. Cameron Simon, if you kick everybody in the nuts, I'm going to assume you're doing it on purpose. Do you know what I mean? Either way, let's move on to the next fighter to get ranked into this tier list, going into C tier, and that is going to be Muhammad Naimov for one fight in particular, but he is absolutely a serial offender, similar to Cesar Almeida. I don't know that he can be rehabilitated. We might need to lock him away for good, dude. Okay? Send him back to fucking Tajikistan or wherever he's from. I'm kidding. Relax. All right? However, against Nathaniel Wood, and unfortunately, I believe this fight was in Abu Dhabi. Might have been Saudi Arabia, but I don't think so. I think it was Abu Dhabi. Against Nathaniel Wood, there were multiple low blows, and like so blatantly too, by the way. He would clinch up with Nathaniel Wood, kneed him in the cup, to the point where there's no way you didn't feel that. This is something that I feel like a lot of people don't realize either, especially depending on the part of the body that hits it, you 100% know if you hit cup, okay? For the most part. He kneed him in the cup. Nathaniel Wood, like, you could see him visibly wince in pain and kind of curl up a little bit, and then Naimov picks it up and goes to the chest with his knee, with the next one. Because he knows he just knocked the wind out of him by hitting him in the nuts, you know? So why not, let's just make it worse now? And that happened multiple times over, and unfortunately the referee only called, I think, 1 or 2 of them. Nathaniel Wood didn't get a break every single time it happened. But on top of that, we had cage grabs, we had eye pokes, we had glove hooking. Literally almost every fucking foul you could think of, Muhammad Naimov did. And he won that fight as well. Not a single point deduction, period. And there was probably at least, I think, 10 fouls committed in that fight. Nathaniel Wood, I don't think, committed a single foul. You know, it's very frustrating to me to watch that happen. But, you know, he is young, I guess, but he has been a while. He's, you know, we've seen him a few times in the UFC, so hopefully he can be rehabilitated. But I, for one, question that. Okay, I just do. Let's move on to the next fighter to get ranked into C tier. And this guy, I don't think he'll be rehabilitated either, honestly. Cyril Gahn. This motherfucker, I swear to God, every single one of his opponents has a steel plate in their head. Okay? Not a stainless one, because that would be, then it would be not magnetic. And he's got magnets in his fucking gloves for their back of their heads. I don't understand it. Also, he kicks people in the nuts as well with that little, what do you call it? The crescent kick, right? Because he throws his, it's like a teep to the body, but he throws it like a crescent kick the way it loops in. Either way. Sometimes we see him clip the nuts with that. But also, the back of the head shots, man. We got him against Tai Tuivasa. He finished him like that. We got it against Junior Dos Santos. He finished him like that. Those ones were a little bit iffy. At least a couple of them. And like I said, dude, the fucking the low blows. I think Cyril Gahn commits fouls quite a lot. And, you know, whether or not they're intentional, I don't know. But like a lot of the people on this list, man, I'm going to sound like a broken record. If you commit the same foul over and over again, if you continuously hit people in the back of the head, I'm going to start to, you know, question all of them. I remember thinking at the time, the Junior Dos Santos one, I go, well, you know, because oftentimes people don't realize that the back of the head, it actually doesn't just refer to the back of the head. It's the mohawk, I think, is how they determine it, right? I think you get like an 1.5 inch mohawk that runs from the top of your head all the way down to the back of your neck, because they don't want you hitting the spine either. And when he was finishing Junior Dos Santos, I thought, well, a couple of them maybe a little bit borderline, you know, maybe the tip of the elbow was on that mohawk, but I feel like he's landing with the forearm, and, you know, that's kind of a little bit off to the side, behind the ear-ish. So I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt, but then when you see him straight up hammer fist the back of Tai Tuivasa's head, then I'm like, well, fuck me, I don't know, dude. Maybe you do try to hit the back of heads, you know? So that's that. Let's move on to B tier, okay? First fighter to get ranked into B tier, Daniel Cormier. This motherfucker, dude. Brutal. This guy is a serial eye poker. You know, it gets overshadowed sometimes because he fought guys like John Jones, who was one of the worst serial eye pokers of all time. And because in his last fight, he got eye poked pretty badly against Stipe Miocic. People forget, and I've brought this up in multiple videos, Daniel Cormier eye poked Stipe Miocic in their first 2 fights, causing him to get fucking surgery on his eyes. So it's not like DC was this, like, victim in that scenario, okay? It's unfortunate that he got poked in the eye, but it was what he did his entire career. It was just karma coming back around. And like John Jones as well. In the first 2 fucking Stipe, dude. Sorry, I almost did it again. In the first 2 Stipe fights, when he would throw his jab out there, he would literally flick the fingers out to, like, extend, like it was 100% intentional that he was trying to get his fingers in poor fucking old man Stipe's eyes. So, you know, absolutely DC. And also, you know, this isn't really in the cage, but the towel thing is absolutely fucking cheating. Okay? And he admitted as much. He admitted to it. So it's not like there's no conspiracy here. He said he did that way and trick with the towel, which allowed him to go on and win a championship, because otherwise he would have not weighed 205. All right, Daniel. Okay, I like DC, but listen, dude, he's a bit of a cheater. Let's move on. The next fighter to get ranked into B tier, Conor McGregor. All right, listen, dude. I know there's Conor fans, and they don't like to point out the fact that he cheats, but he does. If we take a look at the Khabib fight, people make fun of Joe for calling it out, but he absolutely, multiple occasions, need Khabib in the head while they were both downed opponents. And it doesn't matter if you're on your back or on bottom position and your opponent's on top position. If your opponent is a grounded opponent, he is a grounded opponent, period. He also grabbed Khabib's shorts. He was hooking gloves, right? He was grabbing the cage, linking his, grabbing the cage with his toes as well. I don't know what I was, interlink, whatever. Doesn't fucking matter. Not just in the Khabib fight, though, the Dustin fight as well. Glove grabs, knees on the ground, hooking, like just cheeky little fouls that try to get him a one-up, but you can't do that. They're fouls, and, we see it in the fights that he is struggling in. I bet you if you were to go back and watch the second Nate Diaz fight, and the one that he won, and find moments where he was tired and it seemed like he was maybe about to gas out the way that he did in the first one. I wonder if you might be able to find fouls in those ones as well. I didn't go back and watch every single fight, but, we get to see what guys are actually like when they start to lose. And that's a bit of a spoiler for my S tier pick, okay? So, either way, let's move on. Next fighter to get ranked into B tier. Absolute fucking cheater, whatever, dude. Peter, pumpkin cheater, whatever they say. Sean O'Malley. Kind of like Conor McGregor, dude. When he's losing, what do they say? Cheater, pumpkin eater? Is that what it goes? Whatever, dude. Fuck it. Listen, dude. We'll keep going. Sean O'Malley. Okay. Much like Conor McGregor. When he is losing a fight, or he's having a tough fight, oftentimes when somebody's trying to wrestle him, he cheats. He just does. In the Petr Yan fight, Sean O'Malley cheated. And that fight was razor fucking close with all the cheats. Now, if they had called him out for the cheating, or taken a point perhaps, I think he grabbed the cage like fucking 7 times. When Petr Yan was trying to take him down and shit. Who knows what would have ended up happening. Not just that fight, though. In the Merab fight, I saw him grab fence. I saw him hook gloves. He just, little cheeky fouls that, if you ask Dominic Cruz, who apparently people think is a good commentator, I don't fucking know, dude. Veteran move. It's a veteran move to cheat, fucking Dominic Cruz says. And then the other one I could think of is the eye poke against Pedro Munoz. Now, I know that Pedro Munoz played it up a little bit and also did the old Kamaru Usman and pretended like it was the one eye that got damaged from a punch, even though he was legitimately eye poked. But it is still an instance of him, unfortunately, fouling. Now, that one was probably unintentional because I don't see why he would have needed to poke Pedro Munoz in the eye at that moment. But against Petr Yan, against Merab, he is objectively cheating, okay? And in the Petr Yan fight, I think it did affect the outcome of the fight. I don't think he would have been able to be as competitive in that fight as he was, at least in that round, without cheating. Now let's move on to the next fighter to get put into B tier. Randy Brown. This guy is a serial fucking offender. I think, honestly, dude, I think we should lock him up for life. I think he gets a life sentence. No bail. No bail. No parole. Lock him up forever. Okay. It was funny too because they asked him, the event where they tried out the new gloves for the first time, I believe it was UFC 302, Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier. Randy Brown fought Eliza Zaleski dos Santos on the main card, I think, which I thought was fucking crazy, but either way. Dude, before the fight, they asked Randy Brown if he thought it was going to solve eye pokes. He goes, no, I don't think so. Although these are really good gloves if you're a puncher or something like that, even though they turned out to be dog shit. And then he went on to eye poke his opponent 3 times in that fight. Right? And that was just that fight. You understand? So this guy pokes people in the eyes way too fucking much. He's never going to stop. And he basically admitted he wasn't going to stop. Which I kind of respect, but I don't at the same time. Stop fucking cheating. Okay? Or get points deducted. Dude, we need a petition. We need a petition. Somebody needs to get it to, like, the commission or the referees or whatever, dude. Start taking points. Or Dana White. Why are you trying to design a whole glove when you literally have a tool, like, that is available to you that you could, could be using to stop this or to try to, and you just don't fucking use it, you know? So lock Randy Brown away and throw up throw away the key, whatever. This dude is unrehabilitatable. I don't even think that's a word, but let's move on to A tier. Now this first one's gonna surprise all of you, and you're gonna assume that he was the S tier cheat. Now if this was a steroid cheat list, he would be John Jones. Okay, John Jones. This guy is a cheater. He just is. He is a serial eye poker, much like his like Randy Brown, the miniature version. Well, Randy Brown is the miniature version is what I meant. Also, obviously, the positive steroid test, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about fouls and the 12-6 elbow on the poor old Matt Hamill, right? But the eye poking thing is so fucking consistent, and there's no way he's not doing it on purpose. Actually, I know he's doing it on purpose because he has said as much in interviews that he eye pokes people in the eye, or there's like Jorge Masvidal talking about how he's gonna break an eye orbital. Like, yeah, fucker, dude, there's only one orbital, okay? It's on your eye. But either way, he pokes people in the eyes. He knows he does. He knows it's illegal, but he does it anyways. This is what he said in an interview. If you don't believe me, go find it. I'm not gonna be using any UFC audio and shit for a bit because they keep copywriting me, but you know, he knows he does. He doesn't do anything to amend it. His fingers are constantly forward. There was a few times where it even looked like he might have got Stipe in the eye, although I think Stipe would have probably complained. Although maybe he's got glass fucking eyes now after the DC fight. But even if he didn't poke him in the eye, you could still see his fingers pointing forward. The large, throughout the majority of that fight, It's fucking annoying. And it is super consistent. And what's even weirder, leading up to the Stipe fight, I was gonna do a tier list for this before, and I'm kind of glad I didn't because we got a new king that came of it. But I started watching back all his old fights, and I don't think he started eye poking until he got closer to the title. So I don't think he eye poked anybody until the fight after Brandon Vera, maybe even a little bit after that. It might have even been once he was already champion. I didn't see any eye pokes against Guzmão. I didn't see any eye pokes against Stephan Bonner. I didn't see any eye pokes against Jake O'Brien. I didn't see any eye pokes against Matt Hamill, though we did have the illegal elbow. I don't think he did against Brandon Vera. That fight ended very quickly. I don't think he needed to. Same with the next fight, Vladimir, whatever the fuck that guy's name is. So, it's weird that it was something that he developed. He didn't used to do it, and then all of a sudden he just did. But either way, let's move on. Next fighter to go into A tier, Kamaru Usman. Now, this is what I was talking about. I kind of spoiled it when I was talking about Leon Edwards. Kamaru Usman is a serial cheater. This guy is a fucking cheater of all orders, dude. The highest order. Okay? Deviant. Eye pokes, cage grabs, glove hooks, and he fakes fouls. This is a new thing for this list at the very least. I can't think of another person on this list that fakes fouls the way that Kamaru Usman does. Okay? Something I want to talk about quickly actually with Jones before we just fucking shred Kamaru Usman. A lot of people are going to bring up the knees to the kicks to the knee. Shut up, dude. That's a fucking perfectly fine technique, dude. You can rip someone's ACL off with a heel hook, but you're upset about a kick? Get fucked. Let's get to Kamaru Usman, okay? He fakes fouls that happen to him. Colby Covington, while I don't like Colby Covington, objectively speaking, kicked Kamaru Usman in the fucking liver. And he got a free timeout, as if he had been kicked in the nuts. When Colby Covington did eye poke him, Kamaru Usman did what we saw Pedro Munoz do and pretend it was the other eye. And, gets away with fouling constantly. Constantly. I can't believe that Leon Edwards had a point deducted in that fight. Kamaru Usman grabs the cage, hooks the gloves against every fucking opponent he has ever put up against the fence. Period. It is a constant thing. Constant. Okay? And he has also eye-poked people multiple times. He eye-poked Colby Covington, though Mark Goddard just gaslit Colby Covington and told him it didn't happen, basically, like an abusive fucking boyfriend, okay? Mark Goddard, dude, you need to chill. But, just a serial offender. Okay, let's move on. This guy just got put into A tier this year because of one fight in particular, Chris Weidman. You absolute fucking savage. What are you doing? Trying to take out what's his face's eyes, Bruno Silva. That is so rude. And also, you won't admit that you did that, which is insane to me. You could have severely damaged this guy's ability to see for the rest of his life. And you go, nah, I hit him with a punch or something. But it was like 3 eye pokes in a combination, in a sequence. And that was also like the 3rd time you had eye poked him in that fight. Fucking stop it, dude. Put your goddamn fingers away. You're like a fuck. This is such an obscure reference. I don't know how many Pokemoners there out there. Okay, but he's like a Weavile, doing Fury swipes or some shit. He's like a fucking cat. Stop scratching people in the eye, dude. You cheater. You fuck. No point deducted. No nothing. Dude just went on to win. Okay, cool. I mean, if that's how we're doing shit, I guess so. Now let's move on to S tier. Okay. 309. I kind of spoiled it in the beginning. This guy is the dirtiest motherfucker of all time. Michael Chandler. I don't understand why he gets away with it. I even see people in the comment section of the podcast where he's talking about the fight. I don't know what those guys' name are. Something about a fucking van or something. They have a lot of subs. I don't know who they are, but it doesn't matter. I love you, Mike, but those were definitely back of the head shots. He's the dirtiest fighter in the fucking sport. Obviously, if we're not talking about steroid cheats, okay? And I'm gonna listen. In the first fight against Charles Oliveira, people just forget. This is what I'm talking about. I had forgotten these moments until I went back and rewatched these fights. Because after watching UFC 309, I thought to myself, God, I feel like this guy cheats a lot. And I think Dustin Poirier was probably right. And I went back and I watched all of his fights, and he cheats in basically every fucking fight he has an opportunity to. Okay, now, in the Dan Hooker fight, they basically didn't do anything to one another until the moment that Michael Chandler landed, I think it was the left hook, and dropped Dan Hooker. But even in the follow-up shots, Dan Hooker curled up in the fetal-ish position, and Michael Chandler, while he did adjust and stop doing it and landed clean shots, hit Dan Hooker in the back of the head. Okay, when he went on to fight Charles Oliveira, he hit Charles Oliveira in the back of the head multiple times. This is the first fight I'm talking about, by the way. I don't recall in the Tony fight off the top of my head, though I wouldn't be surprised. He got dropped and hurt in that first round, so if there was an opportunity to, he probably fucking cheated. In the Justin Gaethje fight, I had forgotten about this one. He eye-poked Gaethje multiple times. And basically what Chris Weidman did, but just to Justin Gaethje, where he literally was swiping with his open hand, trying to poke Justin Gaethje in the eye, and succeeded in doing so. And then we had Justin Gaethje get upset at Mike Beltran because Mike Beltran had given him no time to recover whatsoever. No timeout, no nothing. Michael Chandler is a scumfuck piece of shit cheater. And he just gets away with it because he's entertaining. And it makes me angry, dude. Because, like I said, when we think about steroid cheats, some of which are on this list, we have John Jones get suspended, right? Multiple times. But whenever he pops for steroids, except the fucking stupid picogram bullshit. But still, there are repercussions, right? Sean O'Malley popped for steroids. He was suspended. Okay? Why the fuck do we just allow fighters to cheat in every single fight that they are in and get away with it and then just go on to be fan favorites? Like, I want people to remember Michael Chandler is a cheating fuck. Dustin Poirier was right. I got so much shit sticking up for Dustin Poirier in that instance, by the way, because I said, no, he's not a sore fucking winner. Michael Chandler's a dirty piece of shit. And Dustin was right. He's a dirty fighter. He fights dirty. And these other guys, by the way, listen, dude, sportsmanship is cool and all. I get it. You know, I used to shake dudes' hands no matter what sport you're playing. Whether you just got done sparring, whether it was a basketball, it doesn't fucking matter, right? You go shake the other guy's hand. But when somebody cheats like that, I wouldn't. And I would make a point of it. I wish that Justin Gaethje was, you know, more of a dick like Dustin Poirier. I wish that Charles Oliveira was a bit more of a dick and more outspoken. Like, I want these guys to talk shit. He is a dirty, scummy, fucking cheating piece of shit. And he does it in every single fight. And if you eye poke, you know, Dustin, it was the fish hooks, back of the head shots, and the blowing the snot and shit in the guy's face, which by the way is that you can't do that, right? You can't spit towards somebody. You sure as fuck can't farmer blow in their goddamn mouth. Okay? He is whatever it takes, he will do. And it's not an admirable trait. I don't give a fuck if you're losing a fight. Lose the fight then. You're just not good enough. Okay? You're just not good enough. He is a cheating piece of shit. And I wish people would voice this more often. Because I know that he's on the outside in interviews and he doesn't swear, he's all humble, he's nice and whatever else, dude. But he's like one of those serial killers where everybody was like, "Well, oh, I had no clue he was such a nice fellow." Yeah, I know, dude. That's like Michael Chandler. Ted Bundy, Michael Chandler, dude. Fuck you. Moving on. This fighter, it's actually a she. If you guys know your shit, dude, you're probably thinking, where the fuck is she? Because she is the worst cheater, I think, of all time. Priscilla Cachoeira. Absolute scummy motherfucker, okay? Absolute scummy motherfucker. She has cheated so many times. There are articles written about this woman. Listen, dude. But what can you expect from a crackhead, okay? She was a literal fucking crackhead. Priscilla Cachoeira was. Now, she had a rough upbringing, and that's unfortunate, but, I mean, look at those sunken cheeks. You can kind of tell, can't you? Crackhead. Jesus Christ. I thought Lauren Murphy was the crackhead, but it was Priscilla Cachoeira all along. Jillian Robertson, she cheated. Tried to take her fucking eyeballs out, obviously. I think she tried to pull down, I don't remember whose top it was, but she tried to pull down her opponent's top. She did fish hooks in that same fight. She cage grabs constantly, right? She is basically the female Michael Chandler. And then on top of all that, so everything I just said to Michael Chandler, apply it to her. So I don't have to talk about how she's scummy fucking cheating piece of shit again. Also, we had that instance of her trying to, switch weight classes last minute when she was fighting Jasmine Jasudavicius. And look, when I did the referee tier list, not that long ago, I shat on, I believe it was Mario Yamasaki, for allowing Priscilla Cachoeira to take about 200 unanswered shots against Valentina Shevchenko. I want to take that back. Officially, formally, in this video. Mario Yamasaki is an S-tier referee for allowing Priscilla Cachoeira to probably acquire CTE in that match. And Jasmine Jasudavicius is also a quality human being for landing well over 300 significant strikes to this cheating piece of shit and submitting her in the third round after she tried to, do the weight stuff and whatever. And 100% would have tried to cheat in that fight, by the way, had Jasmine Jasudavicius not dominated her in the way that she did. So, again, man, these top two, like, when you are just constantly engaging in cheating because you're not good enough, I can't stand you. This is my least favorite kind of fighter, okay? Especially one like Michael Chandler, who pretends to be this super nice, humble fucking guy who is just kind and whatever else, but deep down inside, he wants to damage you and not within the rule set. So I think that in the short amount of time he has been in the UFC, he has actually committed more fouls than John Jones. And that's not even an exaggeration, okay? In that in the Charles Oliveira fight, the second one, he landed 18 shots to the back of the head. There was 2 eye pokes at least. There were multiple cage grabs and glove hooking. So I'm not even exaggerating, 25 fouls in that fight. And then there's the Dustin Poirier fight, and then there's the Justin Gaethje fight, and then so I think that out of anybody on this list, Michael Chandler has committed by far the most. And maybe even if you combine like John Jones and Kamaru Usman together, do you then get Michael Chandler? Okay, so don't let people forget, dude. Cheating piece of shit. Same with Priscilla Cachoeira, horrible human being, constantly cheating. Ex crackhead as well. So that is what it is, okay? That's it for this tier list. All right, these are the worst in-cage cheaters. If I've forgotten anybody, please let me know down in the comments below. I didn't want to just go and include literally anybody that had committed fouls because we would be here for fucking hours, obviously. So for the first-time offenders or whatever, the guys lower down, I tried to pick the ones that I remembered to be the most egregious. off the top of my head. And then as we moved up the list, it was like the very well established absolute cheating fucks. Okay, so if I have forgotten anybody, please let me know down in the comments below. I would greatly appreciate it. Like and subscribe. Okay, you understand? Thank you so much. I'll see you at the next video. Bye bye.